So it's coming up to one of my favourite times of year when I'm clearing out all the summer beds and replacing them with the autumn, winter and spring beds. And I really like it because it happens at a time when everything's quite relaxed on the allotment really. You know, just doing a bit of watering, lots of harvesting, but not a lot of work, no projects or anything like that. And you know, I'm only spending probably, I think on average 2 hours a day on the allotment, but that isn't actually 2 hours a day. It's more like 1 hour a day for 7 days a week, and then you know 2, 3 or 4 hour days, one for harvesting and one for projects. And today is one of the project days, and as I said, I'm just clearing beds and getting them replanted. Mostly I'm not doing a huge amount of replanting at this time of year. I'm generally doing that in September and October, but occasionally, like today, I'll do a little bit of early spinach, a little bit of early lettuce, well, late lettuce. Yeah, I'll show you what I'm up to. So the first job of the day is to harvest these scrappy beetroot, what's left of them. And we're going to get some lettuces planted in this bed. And we'll get rid of these early peas. These were planted, I think, maybe in February. And so they've done really well to hold on. These are mulched too. And we've actually been picking them right up until, well, today. There's a few left on there. And then that'll be done. And these are the scrappy remnants of the second early dwarf French beans. And I'll definitely be pleased to get this bed cleared and replanted. And then finally, I think, for the harvests, we're going to just take out the last few of these golden beetroot. And possibly these lettuces. I want to get some strawberries planted into this bed. And then this bed's going to be planted with spinach. I think 3 different types of spinach, I think. America, Red Kitten and Winter Giant. Just trials to see which ones do best at this time of year. I've also direct sowed some beetroot into this bed, as well as turnips and radishes and a variety of other things. But you can see that it's already starting to get covered with leaves from this tree. And yeah, it makes it very difficult to garden it when it's covered with leaves. So I'm going to put a little bit of fleece over the top. And we're also going to harvest the last of the red onions. And typically we like to grow small red onions, but these are absolutely giants. Well, for us anyway. And we tend to plant them much more densely than this to get small ones. But anyway, it'll be nice to have a few big ones. So I've made all my holes with my trusty dibber. And what I always do now is I pre-water the holes with this, which is a seaweed extract, and this one, which is a fish meal extract. And I just basically put a capful of each of those in that watering can, and it just gives the plants that extra bit of a head start. And I've noticed quite a big difference in the way that the plants kind of get away. And these are the ones that I'm planting, and these were just a test sowing that I did, because obviously I've not used these seeds for a long time, since probably March time. And I wanted to make sure they're all still viable, and they all were. And so I just pricked them out of the container that I sowed them in, and that's why there's only one per module. Normally I'll have 2 at this time of year, and I might have 3 if I was doing this in early spring. So I've actually grown these under my Mars Hydro grow lights, and they've been set to only been on for 12 hours. I don't want these to get too much light because I don't want them to go to seed. And one of the things I really like about these is that even a plant that's only 3 weeks old still has a really good and well developed root system, so they're really easy to get out of the modules. And yeah, so I'm really pleased about that. Something I've really noticed about the grow lights, they really do help with root development as well as top growth. So those are in, and I had 2 duds, which is always really annoying when you have a bed that you can't quite fill. But anyway, I'll soon have loads and loads more. I've got 3 trays I think on the go at the moment, and I'll have another 2 trays in September to go in the polytunnel. So pretty pleased with these, planted nice and deep. And yeah, I'll just give these a bit of a water in, they won't need very much. So that's the bean bed all cleared, chopped up and composted, and then refertilised with my usual mix of goodies, a well rotted farmhouse manure and some seaweed meal and a bit of bloodfish and bone meal. So that's all ready, and I think I haven't 100% decided what I'm going to put in here, but I think I'm probably going to put spring cabbages in here and perhaps some calabrese. And this is the spinach bed. We've also got turnips and radish and spring onions and other things in here. Because of that tree that I showed you earlier, I just put this net on it. It just keeps all the leaves off it, makes it so much easier to look after. And this net, I really love it. It's partly because the rain just goes straight through it, so you never have any issues with pooling of water just sort of in the centre or something like that. And yeah, it just gives at this time of year as well, because we're still in summer, just gives a little bit of shade to the spinach, which is useful because it is a little bit early to do spinach. I'd be sowing spinach now rather than planting it if my timings were ideal. But I'm just pushing the boundaries here because we really like true spinach. Eating New Zealand spinach, which is a kind of amazing crop. But we like to start transitioning to true spinach in about September time. And then we'll start freezing some of this New Zealand spinach. It freezes really nicely. And we get through a little bit more spinach than we can harvest in January and February. So yeah, it's nice to have just a little bit in the freezer. We've got some more over here. We've got plenty of New Zealand spinach. And in the back garden, we've also got this Mikado oriental spinach. This is a really nice spinach. Really lovely, nice, crisp leaves. So this is the first year of growing this, and so far we've been quite pleased with it. So this is the bed that had the peas and the beetroot in it. And we got a really scrappy little selection of beetroot from there. It didn't do very well, to be honest, that bed. But this beetroot's only got to last us August and September, and then our main crop beetroot will be ready. And we've got another bucket container like this at home already. And we've got one more bed of beetroot still to harvest, which is much better than this one. So we're definitely not going to go short of beetroot. But as I said, you know, this isn't the storage crop. This is just the ones to eat through summer and early autumn. So I've dipped my holes in here, and I've just watered with my normal mix of fish emulsion and seaweed emulsion. And it's ready to plant my lettuces. So these are the lettuces that I'm planting. This is a spare tray that I got left over. It's not looking in great condition, but it's worth having. And this is the tray that I was intending to sow in here. So I've got enough for 2 beds, and I've got more than enough lettuces at home at the moment. But what this means by sowing this bed is I can start clearing some of the beds at home and putting in some kales and cabbages and things like that for winter. So we've got a nice mix of stuff at home, and that means when it's foul weather we can just harvest from home, which is always really nice. So I'm really pleased with this mix here. I've got some radicchio here, just 1 row of those. I've got 2 rows of black-seeded Simpson. I think this is Lola Rossa, which I'm not that keen on, but it's nice to have a little bit in the mixes. And then this, I think, is Grenoble Red. Then we've got more Navarra here. I'm not quite sure what that one is. I think it might be a maize, and then Navarra, and then Grenoble Red. So a really nice selection. And these will only be for September and October probably. And then in November time we'll probably put our last batch of spring cabbages in this bed. And yeah, so loads of successions. And then after the spring cabbages are harvested, for spring greens probably in this case, in here will go golden purslane, and that's the golden purslane bed there, looking very nice. So here are my Christmas potatoes. They're all growing really strongly. I'm very pleased with them, and I like them growing strong at this point in time. I know you can plant them as late as now, but the problem is that you stand a good chance of getting late blight, and so you really want them growing as fast as possible for as long as possible in the late summer, early autumn months. And that's what we've got here. So I'm hoping we shall get a good crop. Last year I planted them in early August, and they got late blight after about 2 months, and we still got a crop, but the potatoes were all pretty small. And of course it doesn't matter that you sow them early. I mean, you don't have to have them with green leaves at Christmas time. The leaves kind of died away a long time before then, but when you harvest them out of the compost they'll still be fresh, new potatoes, just as if you pick them fresh in summer. So yeah, I mean the key is to leave them in the compost basically, and for them to be, you know, 2 or 3 months old, something like that. They'll be fine. One of the things I like to do at this time of year, when there's lots of caterpillars around, is to put a little mesh frame on the lettuces, because otherwise almost certainly going to get eaten pretty badly. And so I'll leave that on until I need to put a proper cold frame top on. In sort of, generally we do that about mid-September, depends very much on the weather. So I hope you like this quick video. Just got a bit of harvesting to do now, and then I'll be done. Just some peppers and tomatoes for passata mix. See you soon.